it's 5:30, so I want to welcome everybody if others trickle in. Tonight we are thrilled to have our person, Melisa, that runs our the Recycle Center, not ours, but hers, the Recycle Center. And she has so much information. And I want to encourage everyone to grab one of these down back at the back table. If you're in an HOA, a neighborhood, on Nextdoor, all of this information would be valuable for people to know what can be recycled at the center and what costs a little bit of money, what's free. And she'll go into all of that and be excited for any of your questions. But tonight, our city manager had other things to do tonight. And so I am honored to have Assistant City Manager Chris Lindsey here with us. Thank you for being here and being part of this. And he will introduce himself and what he does, so you know that part of it, because you've been getting to know different people at different levels that we have and knowing what they do. So I want you to know what Chris does, and then we'll turn it over to Marissa and let her talk about the recycle issues and things and everything we need to know. And again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor McNally. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Lindsey. I'm the Assistant City Manager of the city, and I'm also our City Manager's Chief of Staff. I've been with the city for just over 9 years now, and I started with the city as a Budget Division Manager. I have the honor of leading our Municipal Court Division within the city, our Policy and Budget Division, our City Clerk's Office, and our City Hall Operations Division. I would note this week that our Policy and Budget Division includes our Intergovernmental Relations Program, and we've been really busy with a lot of activity in the legislative sphere the last week, and actually the last few weeks due to the legislative session. Our City Hall Operations Division includes environmental compliance, and it's through that work that we became involved with the city's longstanding outside unstaffed recycling sites, and we've gradually moved that over to the Westminster Sustainability Center. So it is my privilege to introduce Melisa Kraai. Melisa is the Director of Sustainability Recycling, and she and her organization run the Westminster Sustainability Center. This is a cooperative partnership with the city. The city leases the building, which she's going to talk about the location. The city pays the lease, the utilities. We pay for pickups for the single stream compactor that you see outside. We pay the equipment costs. And then Melisa and her fabulous organization run and staff the Sustainability Center. With that, I want to turn it over to Melisa to talk about the great work that they do.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to take this. So we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary at the Westminster Recycling Sustainability Center. And we opened last April during Earth Week, a year ago. The center's origin was a result of a collaborative process between us and the city that started many, many years ago. A little history about our company, Sustainability. We have had a drop-off site in the city of Arvada since 2015. For hard-to-recycle materials. And we have the dual mission of diverting valuable resources from landfills and also creating work for individuals who have developmental and intellectual disabilities, who struggle with an over 80% unemployment rate. The catalyst for our partnership was a growing concern at 4 separate recycling drop-off sites that the city had that had been available to the public for many, many years. The concerns included dumping non-recyclable materials and which contaminated the recycling value of the loads that were going out, and then excessive volumes of materials where people would place excess on the ground, and sometimes materials blowing through the neighborhoods, and that led to resident complaints and safety issues. And these are common occurrences at recycling drop-off sites unless you have a staffed site. And so Jen Prin came to visit with us in about 2019, many years ago, about the possibility of partnering with the city with one centralized recycling site for single stream, but also for the 35 plus hard to recycle materials that we take. And our role would be to man and operate the recycling operations at the site, as well as to educate the public on what is and isn't recyclable, and to make sure that it's a safe site and a clean site for the residents. And then COVID hit, and we had to put everything to the side for a while, and we picked the ball back up in 2022. City Council provided direction to the city to pursue finding a property for the centralized site, and we found one off Harlan and 91st, and City Council approved the lease and in January, and then we were off and running in April of 2024 last year. So I'd like to share a little bit about how our recycling site works. Our hours of operation are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. These hours are similar to other manned recycling drop-off sites. The City of Lakewoods are similar, and then EcoCycle and Boulder have similar hours. Last summer, we experimented with having one day where we were open an hour and a half later and finished up at 5:30, and we only averaged about 12 people during that hour and a half period. What we found is that recycling is an errand that people run on a weekly basis or every other week basis, and being open 6 days a week, you can find a time that works for your schedule. If you're working Monday through Friday, then you can come to recycle on a Saturday. So we have a lot of traffic, anywhere between 150 to 300 customers a day. And because of this high traffic, we've found that entering off Harlan Street is the least impactful to the other businesses that are in our facility. So cars enter off Harlan, and if it's not too hot or too cold, we have someone greet them and ask them what they've brought, because people could either be bringing single stream or they're bringing hard to recycle items. And there's two different processes for those types of recycling that people are bringing in. And sometimes people bring in both, but we then guide people to where they need to go, depending on what kind of recycling they have. If people bring single stream, we send them to the south side of the building. And in the beginning, we had an enormous amount of customers, and nobody could know how many customers were using these sites. There were days that we had over 400 customers, and our facility and our people and our machinery couldn't handle the amount of recycling that was coming in. And so it's been an evolution of problem solving, how to make this particular site work, which has been a good site, but not perfect. For example, our neighbors across the street were finding, that they were hearing some sound. They didn't like that there was all these bins that were set out front and that they were looking at those bins. And so we had to make a lot of adjustments over time to decrease the sound. One of the ways we did that was move the main operations to the south side of the building, rather right in front of the building where people were looking out on it across the street that were residents. So anyway, if people bring single stream, we send them to the south side of the building, and then they park and unload their recyclables, just like they would at the other site. We have 10 to 14 staff on site at any time, and so one of our main roles is to take the full bins of single stream recycling to the compactor that's in the back of the facility. It's in the back so that our neighbors don't hear it, and then they tip the bins into the recycling compactor. And then we run cycles that push the recycling back, and then Republic Services is who the city contracts with for the recycling. They come to do a pickup twice a week of the compactor. And they have been fantastic partners with any kind of machinery. Things break, and they come out immediately to make sure that we can stay in operations and aren't having to close the site. So that's single stream. If people bring hard to recycle materials, it's a different process. Hard to recycle materials are items that can't go into single stream because you have to disassemble them, or they're going to a specialized downstream recycler, and we take over 35 hard to recycle materials. And that's a list of it. We've also got the lists, all over the place in here where you guys can take some home. And we have a website where you can see this detailed list and how much things cost when you're bringing them in. One of the most recent things that we started taking in it for recycling is mattresses and box springs. And we load those on a truck and take them to a company named Springback, who employs men who have formerly been incarcerated and struggle to find work, to separate all the different types of materials in a mattress. And many of those layers are materials that can be recycled and used for other things. When you arrive and you have hard to recycle materials, it's a little different process. We send you to the front because we're going to help you unload your materials. Sometimes it's like big TVs. So we bring a cart out and we roll it inside. And our workers process those materials, sort those materials, and send them to downstream recyclers to be recycled. We do have to charge fees for hard to recycle materials. That is because there are labor costs, there's transportation costs, and there's technology costs for things to be recycled. And then there's also wages that we have to pay our workers there. The largest, most of our wages are paid through Medicaid waiver funding. So our wages per month is about $50,000. But we receive funding to supervise and job coach people with disabilities while they work and pay them minimum wage to do that work. And so it's more than just a partnership with the city. It's a partnership with another company called Parker Personal Care Home. And through all these different partnerships, we're able to run a site that is very costly, and no one entity is, covering all the costs. So I'd like to share some of the hard to recycle materials that we take and what happens to them. We receive the highest volume hard to recycle material we receive is electronics. It's the fastest growing waste stream in the world. And electronics should not be thrown in a landfill because there's hazardous waste in electronics that can eventually seep into the soil and the groundwater. And so Colorado put a ban in effect in 2013, which asked citizens to recycle. They can't make sure that everybody's doing it. But there is that ban in effect. And because there's hazardous waste associated with electronics, it needs to be handled with care. Any electronics that we receive go to companies that are e-stewards or R2 certified. And that means that they're audited on a yearly basis to make sure that they're ethically recycling the materials, that they have safe practices for their workers who are handling, hazardous materials, and that they're protecting people's data, because so many of the electronics that you guys are recycling has your data on it. A majority of our electronics go to a local company named Full Circle Electronics, and they are R2 certified. One of the materials we take is styrofoam. We received a grant from the state of Colorado a few years ago and purchased a styrofoam densifier. And it's at a different site. And what our employees do is feed the styrofoam into the densifier. It chops it up into little pieces, and then it goes through an oven within the machine, and then it comes out as a solid block of pure number 6 plastic. And that plastic we send to Direct Polymers, another local company, and they send it to manufacturers all over the country who make styrofoam out of it again. That's an example of circular economy, where you purchase something, you use it once, it goes into the landfill. That's linear economy. But circular economy is you purchase something, you use it, and then it goes back into the economy. It's made into something else. Another material we take is plastic pill bottles. A lot of people think these can go in your single stream, but they're not recyclable. The machinery that is sorting recyclables at Republic Waste will pull this out and throw it away. But if they get it from us and the labels are removed and it's all plastic pill bottles, a clean stream, they can find outlets with manufacturers who will take that particular type of plastic. Another example of circular economy, we collect many different types of film, so like bubble wrap, the plastic that is around toilet paper and paper towels, the plastic envelopes that so many of us are getting materials in at home. These are all film that we take, and then we have a baler at our facility and we bale it all. And that film's so light, but a bale of film ends up being 1,200 pounds, and you can see a picture of it here. And then Trex, who makes decking and furniture, outdoor furniture, comes and picks it up and makes product out of it. So again, an example of the circular economy. We also take many items that are reuse, and reuse is better than recycling. Less energy goes into reuse, less labor, less transportation, when you can just locally have someone reuse an item. And we partner with different companies for the things that we were taking in for reuse. We take in shoes. Shoes goes to Souls for Souls, which is a company that a lot of people are aware of. And they partner with nonprofits in developing countries that help entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses. We also take canned pet food if it's unopened, dog and cat food. We send those to Max Fund, that's a no-kill shelter. None of it's rocket science, it's all just practical stuff, collecting and vetting places and getting it to where it needs to go. We take eyeglasses and hearing aids, and we partner with Lions Club, who takes those, and they go through and see what is still usable and pass those along to people that may struggle to afford those items. We work with the Gathering Place and collect the travel-sized shampoo, conditioner, soap that you get when you go to like hotels, and they provide resources to people who are facing homelessness. That's just a few of the hard recycled materials we take and a few of the reuse items we take, but all the items we're vetting the downstream recyclers and reusers. I'd like to share statistics. We've just come upon our first year of being open, and we're getting a lot of customers. Per month, we have on average 4,610 customers that are coming in for the single stream, and then 391 customers that are coming in for the hard to recycle. So it's about 5,000 visits per month that we're receiving. The diversion for single stream, metal cans, paper and paperboard, all those things you put in your bins, glass, the plastics, 1s, 2s, and 5s, 216 tons to date diverted. That's about 19.6 tons average per month. We have to pull the cardboard out. Normally cardboard is a part of single stream, but we get so much of it that our machines cannot process it fast enough. The compactor can't process it fast enough. And so we put carts out for customers, and they pull their boxes and put them in a separate cart. And then we hand feed every single box that we get into a baler. It's creating work for people. People enjoy working the baler. We diverted 129 tons of just cardboard. So over half, well over half, of what we're receiving in single stream is cardboard. And that makes sense because we're all getting things delivered to our homes, and everything we buy is, in cardboard and packaging. Some of the hard to recycle materials, like I said before, electronics is what we receive the most of. And in this past year, we've diverted 114,000 pounds of electronics. It's a heavy material, so that's a big number. Over 7,000 pounds of books, over 1,200 pounds of shoes, and over 15,000 cans of paint. And paint is a interesting material. We work with a company named Green Sheen. They just pour latex paint into a big container, mix it up, it turns brown, and then they make a new color palette out of it, and they sell that at restores. And they sell it all over the country. So again, just very practical, not rocket science. And we all have tons of paint in our homes. It's actually one of the biggest fillers of landfills. The city is running a promotion right now, and was advertised through people's utility bills, where the city is funding each resident, one-time visit, $30 to recycle either electronics or mattresses, but up to $30. And that's been running from the beginning of the month, and it'll run through the end of month. And that just makes it accessible to people that maybe couldn't afford that otherwise. And that event's going well, and it's brought people to our center that weren't aware that we existed. So when we first opened, most of our customers were frustrated, and some of them angry. They had been using the former recycling sites for over 2 decades. And they were upset because the center wasn't close to their home anymore. That was pretty convenient for people. It wasn't open 24/7. And we had to share with them that some of the things they were bringing weren't recyclable, and that they were actually trash. So it was a big challenge for many months, where we had to work with residents to establish new habits and a new, more accurate understanding of recycling. And we've reached the other side of that. We average about 200 customers a day, and they're regulars, and they're educated recyclers. We recognize each other's faces, and in some cases, each other's names. We've had 0 instances of dumping in the last 6 months. And I believe this is because, as a staff site, we're in relationship with the people that are coming in. This is a picture of Joe on the far left side. He brings our team baked goods 2 to 3 times a week, goods that he's made himself. And he's retired and had all these high-level, powerful jobs, and he wants to volunteer with us 15 hours a week, and he's going to start doing that next month sometime. And he's one of many people that appreciate that we're there and bring us food and drinks, and everybody loves that. Looking at the statistics, the new centralized site, we've diverted a lot of materials. But it's not just a recycling site, it's truly a center. We're in community with our customers, and the center has created 23 new jobs, 16 of which are people who have developmental disabilities. And it's a place where residents can align their actions with their values through the act of recycling. And I'd just like to thank all of you with the city who's been involved in this partnership. Thank you for trusting us to set this site up and manage it. You've been supportive, responsive, and incredibly competent partners, and a delight to work with. Really appreciate you guys.
And we appreciate you. Yeah, give her a hand. One thing I didn't see on there, and maybe I wasn't listening carefully, but I love your candle wax story.
Yeah, one of the reuse items we take is candle wax, and it's just a local business person who takes the wax and melts it down and makes new, really beautiful candles out of it. So yeah, again, it's just like simple stuff. There's materials that people can use rather than it going in a landfill.
When I visited, I would never have thought of all of these things that she shared. So if you haven't been inside, park and go inside. And if they aren't crazy busy, they're happy to show you around. And it's amazing. It's like clockwork. It just works. But Chris, tell us about what the city did with a grant so that they're able to do the mattresses.
Thanks, Mayor. So the city staff applied for a grant from the state of Colorado within the last year, which we received, and we were able to purchase a box truck that Melissa mentioned that's required to be able to do the mattress recycling. And that enables us to do that mattress recycling moving forward in a very efficient manner for the staff. So that's something that was not done on the city's dime, that we were able to help provide and expand the services available to our residents.
Yeah.
Who has questions? Gary?
I talked to you guys a while back. I throw away, I shouldn't say that. I recycle at your center, and I like it very well. I need everybody too. But the D and the AAA, it seems like, I'm doing all this other recycling.
Right.
I'm lazy and I throw them and they end up at the landfill.
Yeah.
And I talked to one of the managers and he said we can't take them because of fire reasons. Is there some fireproof containers we can get in the future? I throw away tons of that.
I know, and one of the advantages of a centralized site is that it's a one-stop drop. You can just load up your car with everything that can be, instead of going here for this, here for this, here for this. And I hear you on the batteries. Because we're employing people with disabilities, we take on more liability and have to do a lot of supervising to make sure that good decisions are made. And we have decided that we don't want to take that risk. Acid batteries aren't incredibly, just let it, the regular AAA batteries, AA batteries, they're not incredibly hazardous, but if you take those, you're going to get all these other, and it's the lithium ion that are dangerous, and recycling facilities burn down all over the country every year, as well as fires starting in people's homes. We're starting to hear more and more about that. And trash trucks, yeah, because they're compressing. And so I hear you. I wish we could take it. There are resources. And
can you label it then in your center? That would be helpful for me, then I would go.
Yeah, we have a recycling resource sheet. So if there are things that can be recycled, but we don't take it, it's sitting right at our front desk. You can just ask, where can I recycle batteries? And they'll hand you that sheet, and it's got the contact information on it. Thank you.
I saw some other hands. Yes, sir.
Are foam mattresses recyclable?
They are, yes. Not every aspect of a foam mattress is recyclable, but there's some layers that are used for insulation. The box springs have metal in it that can be recycled. So our downstream recycler recycles everything that can be recycled in it.
Karen?
How come some of the plastics aren't accepted? Like when you buy fruit that's in those plastic containers from the grocery store, is it just you don't have a place to recycle that, or? Yeah, so we contract with Republic Waste or Republic Services, and they tell us what is recyclable at any given time, because they're the ones that are working with world markets, and so they know every plastic is different. They know what plastics can be recycled at any given time. Plastics that actually have value. And if they're taking plastics that there's no markets for, they're probably going to have to throw them away. And so a lot of recycling companies will tell you 1 through 7.
probably not all being recycled. We want to know exactly, we talk to our downstream, what is recycled, and then we advertise that. Right now, 1s, 2s, and 5s are what's actually being pulled out and being recycled. We don't want to mislead people around the other numbers.
Karen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I use the recycling facility a lot, and people are very friendly
Good.
to boot.
Yeah.
I am wondering about the Republic component,
Yeah.
because if you compress all this stuff together, or for Republic, how do they separate it
Yeah.
down the line?
Good question. It's basically robots. They have, it's taken to what's called a MRF, huge facility with a multi-million-dollar technology. It's lines and all types of automated systems that, like if it's a steel can, a magnet comes down, pulls that steel can up. With plastics, it goes into water, and different plastics, float at different levels. It's fascinating, and they let the public. You can call and go do a tour and see how all this is sorted out. And there's a little bit of human labor that goes into it, where there's people online just kind of pulling things out. In the past, it used to be all human labor, and now it's mostly an automated system. And these MRFs exist all over the city, all over Colorado, all over the United States. It's technology that's getting better and better over time.
Yes.
How can you tell plastic 1, 2, 3, 27, whatever it is?
Right? On the bottom, usually, there's a recycling symbol. If it's going to be a recyclable plastic, first of all, there would be a recycling symbol. And inside that recycling, it's really hard to see. Inside the recycling symbol, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1s, 2s. So water bottles are recyclable. The clam shells that fruit and stuff comes in is not a recyclable plastic right now. Most of the materials that your toiletries are coming, shampoo and soap and things like this, most of those are recyclable and will have a 1, 2, or 5 on it.
Charlie?
I run an accounting office, and no paper goes from my office without it being shredded.
Yeah.
But you won't accept shredded paper.
Yeah, it's a whole other business. There's a ton of regulation in the shredding industry where you have to have cameras, you have to have a caged-in area that's locked. There's a lot of liability involved. And when we first started, we wanted to do everything. Oh, you want us? Yes. We just said yes to everything. And then we weren't doing anything well. And so we learned that hard to recycle. One of the only other centers that exists is in Boulder. There's one in Fort Collins. They're very expensive, very, very expensive. And with our model, where we can pay for labor through Medicaid, we can partner with cities for the facilities and equipment, we're able to squeak by. And that's our specialty. And to do that, it just gets so much. We need more facilities. We need more labor. We're limited on how many people we can have in one site from a Medicaid perspective. So there's a lot of different factors involved. I wish it was something that we could take. It would actually be profitable for us. But there are a lot of companies that will come and pick it up, shred it on site, and make sure that the paper's recycled.
Mine just goes in the trash.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Mayor.
Yes. Oh, sorry, didn't see you.
I use the recycle center every week. And
Awesome.
One parking lot to Costco. I love you.
Okay.
And the people are wonderful. I think they've been making a mistake though. So number one, clear bottles are okay, but number one, food containers are not.
If it's the clamshell, it's not.
Like the
Oh.
spinach containers, you know.
If it has a 1 on it, they'll take it. Yeah, a lot of the clam shells aren't a 1, 2, or 5. If it does have one of those numbers on it, then they'll take it, and it'll be recycled. Yeah.
We wanted to remind you too, we do as a city have a household hazardous waste and it's one per family per year. So what our neighborhood does was somebody picks each quarter to call and get this. So if you have oil and paint and whatever, I don't know if they take batteries. No?
Don't think so.
But they'll have a list and they'll tell you if you call them. But their number is 1-800-449-7587. And I'm sure it's on our website. And we've used it several times, and it's great. You get the container that you're to put everything in. Sometimes there's limits to how much oil and different things that you can put in, but as long as you don't exceed those, you might as well fill it. So that's the reason we go around to the neighbors and saying, do you have any of these things? Because we're getting the container, and then when it's full or ready to be picked up, they come and take care of that. It is simple, it's easy, and just it helps keep all of that stuff out of backyards and side yards and all of that kind of thing to keep us clean.
And they do accept some batteries.
Oh, they do accept some batteries. So do we have what they do accept? Let me give you the microphone. This is our lifeline over here.
AA, AAA, C, D, and rechargeable batteries are all accepted, as well as vehicle batteries.
Awesome.
Pardon?
Where is this that they can keep the batteries?
With the household waste that the city does, and it's one time per household that you get it for free. Has anybody used it? No? Did you know about it? I know we had HOA person here. We're hoping that, especially if you grab this card that has all the information and where our this recycle center is and everything, that you will share this, because we have great numbers, but we could be doing a lot better. And people, I think, just don't know about it. And that's one reason why it's time for spring cleaning. And I know I've been doing that at home, and I think of you often. I didn't give you any blankets or anything and didn't know if you took them, because I have a friend in the animal management that takes care of strays and always needs something for them to lay on and stuff. So she got all those.
Good.
You didn't,
Good.
but I know they're going to good use. But as I go through everything, I just, you're right there, and I'm happy to get a card that has the things so that I can better have things organized when I show up.
Awesome.
Anything else? It doesn't have to be on recycling. Do you have some? Yes, sir.
The pill bottle recycling,
Yeah.
that you have to take the label off. Has anybody come up and been able to get that label off?
It is, no, it's horrible. It's like your fingernail. Get it wet, comes off a little easier if you soak it for a bit. But no, it's terrible.
And I'm always worried about contaminating something like it. Like, let's say you left the cap on the water bottle.
Yeah.
Something. Does that, then they just take it off of there and then get it off?
Yeah, good question. Leave your caps on your plastic bottles. It's actually less likely that it will be recycled going through those automated systems because it's so small. But if you leave it on, all the plastics are going to be ground up, and then they go through this process in the water of going to different levels where they can divide out the different types of plastic. So it's actually less of a chance of it to be recycled if you remove it. And we used to hear something different. And the technology has changed, and so now actually leaving caps on, even if they're different. Now, if it's a metal can and a glass container, you'd want to separate those two materials. No automation is going to be able to take the metal off the container. And another thing, aluminum cans, if you squish them and make them small, less likely that it'll be recycled in the automation process. And that didn't used to be the case, and now it is. More likely that it'll make it through the recycling process if you keep it whole.
Really?
Yeah.
You're just full of so much information. Anyone else have some questions or thoughts? Yes, sir.
I got a question as far as, I've kind of studied in the past on, it seems like Sweden has one of the best recycling programs to where they get it right down to almost 90% recycled.
Mm-hmm.
And so they pull out the materials, and then the last of it goes into an incinerator,
Mm-hmm.
and then they burn it, and then they use that for electricity
Yeah.
generation and also heating businesses. So
Yeah.
why is the United States so far behind?
I wish Rachel was here. She's our recycling guru and started this business with me years ago. She could answer that question. I've heard about it. Some places in the United States are experimenting with it, but it's not taken off. I think there's pros and cons. There's people that believe that's not the best thing that can be done. There's people that believe that it is. I don't know if it, the costs. I wish I could, answer that question. Yeah.
State of Maine's been doing it for a long time.
Have they? Maine in the United
They burn
States?
their trash and they scrub all of it. There's nothing bad about it. And they're
Yeah.
turning it into energies.
Yeah, yeah.
They've been doing
That
it
sounds
for a
great.
long time.
And so often, the solution to our environmental problems isn't one silver bullet. It's the combination of many different ideas and technologies. And my guess is that this will pick up over time and play more of a role in the end of our products.
And I haven't totally read all of this. Do we have limits on like computers or mattresses that we can bring at one time?
I mean, no. If you can fit it in your vehicle, we'll take the electronics. We typically don't like box trucks full of things, like your truck, your car, because it'll really slow down the process of us being able to attend to other customers. But if you do have a ton, you could bring, a car full one day, car full the next day. Yeah.
Where do you have limits?
We have limits on boxes because we have to hand feed them into the baler one at a time. Get a few in, get a few in. So we've limited it to 20. And outside of that, it's just like if you can fit it in your car or your truck, we can take it.
Well, and again, I'm just thinking of neighbors. Please let them know, and if you're going anyway, see if they have something. You might as well have a load.
Exactly. Yeah, carbon footprint. Yeah, we have one of our fee systems is what we call a bundle. And there's like 20 items that we take in that bundle, and you can fill your car for $4. You could bring your neighbor's stuff. Part of that, like it's styrofoam, it's film, a lot of the reuse items you could fill your car with for $4 and have less of a carbon footprint by doing so. That's why we do the bundle, so you're not bringing one or two little items each time. And yeah, hooking up with other people in your neighborhood to do that is a great idea.
What else is on your minds? Yes, sir.
We can take it away from recycling.
Sure.
Stanley Lake recreational boarding. When is the last time City Council has visited it for real? Not just hearsay, not just garbage talk, scientifically. When is the last time City Council has visited it?
It hasn't been since I was reelected in 21. I know I stayed up to what was happening during the time that they took it away, the boating away. I don't know if we have the right people here tonight to answer that, but we have the question. We have the question so we can get an answer because any of your questions we put on the list when it goes out on Facebook, so anybody that wanted to know what questions were asked can go through there.
I can make some statements rather than questions. The original reason for closing Stanley Lake was the zebra mussel.
Right.
There are no zebra mussels in Colorado. Scientifically, they can't live here. The reason being is our water comes from snow melt. Our water is lacking in the calcium required for the mussel to build its shell. That's why we don't have mussels in Colorado. Stanley Lake was shut down for different reasons. And I've talked to different city council people. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. But I have found out some things as to what was really behind it. The mussel was used strictly as a excuse to shut down recreational boating on Stanley Lake. All the other lakes in Colorado, all the other reservoirs are doing it. They face the same thing with the zebra mussels. So why are we not doing it? I boated for 24 years straight. I stood in line to get my permits when the lines went way up north on Elkhire up there, or whatever street that was, Sims. And then we finally went to the lottery system, which was really good. But there are definite issues with boating on Stanley Lake. They are all simple to be handled. We need to reopen that. You have got people who have literally moved out of here because they moved in here to boat on Stanley Lake. And with it being shut down is your families. I mean, boating is one of the greatest family get-togethers there are. I mean, kids love to go boating. Adults love to go boating. It's fantastic, and we've lost it. We've really, really lost it. The zebra mussel. We still have people going out there with paddle boards. You have people going out there with kayaks. If a boat can carry the zebra mussel, so can a paddle board that's come from another lake. So it's not the zebra mussel. I will be more than happy. I know all kinds of people that would love to form a committee to help you out to get this back in place.
The big thing that happened after I left and in between me coming back is there was a memorandum of understanding now that has Westminster, Thornton, and North Glen, and that would have to be undone.
North Glen and Thornton definitely have something to do with it. That was one of the other, like I said, that's one of the things that can be worked out. But they were putting the pressure on Westminster to shut it down. Basically, they said, hey, if you get the zebra mussel, we're going to sue you. So, I mean, that's reality. But there's ways to not have it happen. It's not happening in Colorado for a month.
Thanks for your comments. And it was a battle. I hear all the time. I have neighbors that still have their boats that used to go to Stanley Lake. They have to go to different places now. And I do know of people that left because they couldn't boat here anymore.
Well, I'd love to see it come back and be talked about scientifically.
Thanks.
See where you go with it.
Anyone else? Yes, sir, or ma'am.
I moved to Westminster about 3 years ago and bought a cute little house in a cute little community, and a year later, a B&B went in next door to me. Do I need to stand up? Can you hear me?
It's fine.
Okay.
Just talk loud.
The B&B went in next door to me. They can house 12 people. They house more than 12 people frequently. It has never been cared for. It could be 8 to 12 weeks before they take out their trash. I have become best friends with Joy on your team about this. As a matter of fact, today the city came and cleaned up the yard for the umpteenth time because the weeds are higher than my 5-foot fence. I am asking that the city look into rules about B&Bs and the care and management of them, whether or not the owners and the managers need to live in the city or live in the state. These people live in Florida. It's a mess. And I'm seriously considering moving out of Westminster because I can't stand living next door to this pigsty. It wasn't that way 3 years ago.
Who over in this crew can take her name and address so we're sure we follow up and we know what's happening?
Joy actually just spoke with me today, spoke with Ann. So I am on file as a frequent complainer.
If you just let one of the two ladies raise your hand, give their name, your name, so that we can just double check that everybody's talking to the right people. So.
And Joy has been very responsive. I appreciate it.
Great.
But these people aren't even licensed.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'd like to add my name to that list.
Okay.
I have one of those right next door to me.
Okay.
It's not an Airbnb, it's basically somebody converted a single-family home, ranch-style single-family home into an apartment building. And we've had nothing but, especially parking, crazy parking. The landscape, they won't take care of the landscape. And about every year or two, I put a request for service in, and I put it in last year because they're getting 5-foot, 6-foot weeds poking over the fence. And the code enforcement guy told me that they refused to cut the weeds in the backyard. And I said, well, so doesn't the city have a program where they, they come in and cut them and bill them? And he said they didn't do that. So the weeds have been in the backyard for years and years. They make a little bit of effort to clean up the front, but they had so many people in there, they gravelled the entire front lawn and turned it into a parking lot. So we've had issues with that. And there have been police complaints too about that. And sadly, some of the police were not familiar with the landscaping rules, so they weren't aware that you can't do that. So I think finally that was sort of resolved, but nobody's come back and made them repair the landscaping. It's just a mess. And like I say, the back is just an overgrown mess. And the houses, I mean, it's a long story. I don't want to take up, 20 minutes, but ever since they started working on that house, to me, the city's been unresponsive they've had code violations. They rebuilt the whole house without permits. There was no permits pulled. And they literally added 6 bedrooms or whatever. I mean, I talked to planning department, and they did get busted finally and had to have some inspections. But as soon as the inspection was over, they brought a bunch of contractors in and did all the work that was denied on their permits. And I've talked to the building department, I don't know how many times, and there's just been no response. And I really don't understand why, because it's pretty obvious. I talked to planning, and they know this person. Every time I talk to somebody in the city and I gave them the address, they're like, oh yeah. But I'm like, okay, everybody knows about this, but it's been endlessly frustrating because we had, in 2 years, we had more police calls than we had in 30 years. I've been there 30 years. And we had a police call every 5 years or something. And it's just been crazy. The parking thing, there's, like I said, there's many, many people in it. And it shouldn't be allowed.
Please give your name and the address we're looking at to either of those ladies in the back row.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, and every spring it's the same thing because springtime, my yard's full of weeds and I look over the fence, well, there you go. It's just, like 20,000 dandelions in one small yard. And it's not a big house. I don't know how they cram all those people in there.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Is it appropriate for you or a good time to talk real briefly about the lawsuit against the state with regard to housing?
Sure. We've been, if you've watched the news lately, I was on Friday night explaining why we're there. And I had a Denver Post reporter call yesterday, so I might have been quoted yesterday. The big issue is the state constitution. And our Colorado Municipal League, and Kevin Baumer runs that. He wrote a great piece yesterday sharing that even our governor in 2015 probably gave the best answer of why local control is so important to each and every city that around land use, and yet now in 2025 he has had bills passed and telling us that they have a formula, and our staff sat in that room where we meet for study sessions and told us, was it March or April? They told us that for them who work every day, that is all they would get done this year. And we had just finished, it was in February, because we had just finished an 8-hour strategic planning session, and that was going to have to just, because they needed to do what was being passed by state law. So the state constitution is very clear. And I told the reporter yesterday, because they always want to put a spin, and I said, there's no spin. Just print what's in the state constitution and let people make their own decision if we're right or wrong. But it is clear that local control to a home rule city is under our jurisdiction. Our comprehensive land use plan took 2 years to pass. because the first one, rendition of it, was using too much water. And you all are included when we have public input and the developers, the people that own the land, and we have 2% of our land left. And they came back with, we needed to have 110,000 new units in Westminster, or 65,000 homes. I know how people feel about apartment buildings, and in apartments, people can't, unless they're condos, they can't buy and earn equity. They're just, to me, throwing money out the window, and I understand people need to do that sometimes because of wherever they are in their life, and we need apartments, but do we need that many? And they are talking about affordable housing. There's some apartment buildings being built right now because of the cost of construction that are running between $2,400 and $3,200 a month just for an apartment building, for rent. So, yeah, there's, I don't know, I didn't count how many cities are involved in the lawsuit.
Six total.
But, there's more. There's more, but our staff, I just really want you to know, your staff said to us, here's what it says, here's what we'll have to do, and we'll have to not do these things. This is all about local control, and I will fight to my death over local control, and our council made a decision that it's not the funnest thing to do, to stand up and say this is wrong, but our council said this is wrong and directed staff to not do what is going to be requested in June. And then knowing that, the governor just proposed, when did he do his executive order? Friday. He did his executive order that states we will not be eligible, any of the cities that don't do what we're supposed to be doing through these last state laws, will not have access to the $100 million in state grants. So we knew that when we said enough is enough, and local control should be important to you all. Otherwise, something can go next to your house if you have any vacant land, and it can be 13 stories high, it can be whatever, and we would have no way to say no. None.
Is Westminster standing by itself in this
No, there's six.
battle, or do you have other cities?
Greenwood Village is taking the lawsuit. They're running the lawsuit. We just said we support it.
And other cities, do you know of?
Yes, there's Arvada, Aurora,
Glendale,
Lafayette.
us in Greenwood Village.
Because that
And
needs to be shut down.
Yeah.
Massive overreach.
And
I thank you, Nancy, and the City Council for standing up for home rule. I think that it is very, very important as a citizen of Westminster that we say no, not just to the governor, to the legislature, to the federal government. I think that home rule needs to be the top of the list. I thank you. Thank you.
thank you. Sorry we've gotten off track, Elizabeth. We never know what's coming, but people have this on their minds, so you're learning something too.
It's fascinating.
Yes.
It's a follow-up question, because we attended your first meeting, March-ish. And I thought at the time you'd also mentioned that their calculations were wrong.
Their calculations, because they were looking, the state was looking at affordable housing, what each city has done, and they're now trying to tell us what we are to do. The three places that we have intense affordable housing and condensed housing is at 3 transit stations, 71st and Irving. And our problem down there is we don't have electricity. Xcel Energy knew 3 years ago some things that were supposed to be coming online for not just the missing middle, but for that person that needs a job and wants transit to be able to get wherever they do have their job and just starting out. And we can't build it because there hasn't been electricity. But we have stuff down there. Downtown, we have 500 buses that come on one side where 36 goes, and we were supposed to have fast tracks that we built for in 2004. And fast tracks was supposed to be done in 2017. We have not yet seen anything except the 100 or the 71st and Irving train is part of a partnership that came on. RTD doesn't really run that, a contractor does. So, so that's an issue. We're still paying for RTD's fast tracks and have nothing to show for it. And then the third stop is at the Promenade, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 big apartment complexes, but there's a huge bus stop right there for the 36 corridor. Again, supposed to have rail. We're now getting one stop, maybe, if they pass this Front Range and the commuter rail. Everything's up in the air. I need you to be so in tune and watching what's happening. We're only 7 voices. You vote for these people. You are their bosses too, and we need help. Those are the fights that we're fighting right now. Keeps me up till 2 in the morning sometimes. Anything else? We have come to our witching hour. Great conversation. Thanks for coming with all of your questions, but thank you for coming and sharing all the recycling. I'm so excited. I'm going to go home and find stuff for you.
Great. My pleasure. Thank you.
Turn your microphone off.